Hey everybody, it's Perch, and I'm going on a trip, but you won't know that because I've been stacking up the videos. I've got about 2 weeks worth of videos all piled up and in the queue, ready. So if some big, huge news event breaks, and it probably will in the next few days, right now it's early March, then I you're going, what's going on? Why isn't this channel commenting on it? Well, because Perch is away. Actually, I'm flying to Poland. It is a terrific time to go to Poland right now. It's sunny, it's beautiful. The weather is, there's absolutely no international incidents going on that would possibly make that a weird place to go right now. I'm sure it'll all be completely fine. I'm looking forward to helping some people screw in light bulbs. It'll be incredible. Anyway, so if suddenly the videos stop and there's just no more videos, then one of two things happened. Either I went out and away and was so relieved at not doing videos again that I just decided, I'm burning my identity, or you know, you know, bad things happen in Poland. But who knows? Both most likely everything will just keep continuing as it's been continuing. So here's a question I've got. I guess it's not early March. What am I thinking? It's like the second week of March. Anyway, whatever. I posted up a picture, and I talked about this kind of in another video around Eternals, but I posted up this picture from Asad Ribic around Captain Marvel. And it's a picture in the Eternals. The Avengers are guest starring in it. And Captain Marvel looks weird. She's drawn, it's a combination of kind of his sketchy style, how the coloring came into the picture, and just generally, I think she's trying to kind of lift her head up and smile. And the effect makes her look like she's 80. Or, yeah, maybe that's a little exaggeration, but very old. It looks very, very peculiar. And Rivik, who I do love, he does have these moments in the comics where the characters just look very, very strange. Secret Wars, if you were looking through that comic, there are just a couple, there'd be a couple expressions, a couple of panels where things look really, really off. But he's a brilliant artist and does terrific work. So it's, all's forgiven, and certainly this is forgiven. But it got me thinking, because I had posted up this image, got a lot of traction, a bunch of bigger names retweeted it with a WTF, and then I started getting a lot of messages from people within comics saying, hey, you really shouldn't post anything about Captain Marvel if it's remotely negative because people are going to think you're from the bad group. And here's my general feeling is, F it. Let them think I'm from the bad group. I'll be honest. I don't want to drag the people who contribute to my channel and to do, people who are nice enough to be interviewed and everything. I don't want to drag them into that. So my only reservation, or only pause I have for this entire thing that makes me think about it twice, is that I don't want those people to be, I can make a choice for myself, but I don't like if I'm making a choice for other people. That's on my mind. So, somebody like a Joe, who's extremely funny, great sarcastic wit, comes on and does really funny things. And I think, he works in comics. He's a good guy. He and I agree on some things. We don't agree on other things, I'm sure. To be honest, we don't talk about a bunch of things we disagree with. We just kind of have fun chats, and, it's a good relationship, right? I'll also tell you our secret chats. We don't talk about, the comic industry is secretly failing or falling apart either. We don't talk about that because neither one of us believes that's true. But I don't want anything negative to rub off on him. I think he doesn't deserve it, and I certainly would like to hope that people in comics are smart enough to realize that each individual human has an individual brain, and everybody gets to make their own decisions, and we don't just lump everybody into one group. But of course, I don't believe that because it's not true. There's been plenty of examples over the last several years of lots of people, not just in comics but everywhere, assuming lots of things about people. Completely unrelated to comics. I was talking to a neighbor with where I used to live, and they were saying, "Hey, did you notice that this person down the street has a red hat?" I'm like, "Yeah, that person's actually lived here for about 30 years, forever. And as long as I've lived here, this person's lived here, and it's that they always have that red hat." And they're like, "Oh, I thought it was a MAGA thing." I was getting ready to, I felt weird saying hello. And as I'm like smiling, oh yeah, yeah, it's a crazy world. In my head, I'm thinking, God, you're such an idiot. You're an idiot. If you think, I mean, you're now at the point where the color of hat vaguely resembles something from a current political climate, and you're going to cut that person out from conversation and life because you assume it's a terrible thing. But when I think about kind of comic art and everything else, I think about these notes. So now back to that. The hey, you really shouldn't ever post anything that could remotely be construed. And this was literally the words. You shouldn't post anything that could be remotely construed as negative against Captain Marvel, because then you're going to be attached to the bad group. Verbatim. That's what was said. Um, I don't know. Is that a world anyone wants to live in? I don't. That sounds terrible. Absolutely terrible. I think about Captain Marvel's character for me. She's never been one of my favorite characters, and I am going back to the 70s when I say that. I didn't particularly like her as binary. I didn't particularly like her. I didn't terribly like her character. I didn't like her character because she just wasn't very interesting to me. It was a female superhero who had kind of fairly bland powers, and they never really seemed to be putting her in situations that were that terribly interesting. I think if you compared it to to Monica Rambeau at the time, or you compared her even to Jessica Drew Spider Woman or She Hulk, and I'm talking like Savage She Hulk prior to Byrne, She Hulk when she was on the Avengers or on the Fantastic Four, like there were so many more interesting female characters that Marvel had going. There were lots of them. The Black Widow was not, Black Widow I don't think had the most interesting run in the 70s, but definitely got there later on. Elektra did as well. I thought Elektra was a pretty good character always. I mean, I'm a sucker. I know it's old fashioned, but I'm a sucker for the Invisible Woman. I always thought Sue Storm had a pretty cool power set and lots of things she could do. When Byrne was giving her a little bit more empowerment things to go along, it was fine. It worked well. And there's lots of good characters. I can go down the list of characters that I enjoyed more than Captain Marvel. Doesn't mean to say I hated everything Captain Marvel did. I think that what Brian Reed, when he did his series, I think he did some really solid work, kind of building her up as a character and doing some interesting things with her. I wasn't a fan of the Kelly Sue run, but the big reason I wasn't a fan of it is that they took Captain Marvel and they're like, this character is really important to the Marvel universe, and then they would immediately toss Captain Marvel into adventures with kind of random aliens that we've never seen before. And this was supposed to really talk up Captain Marvel's heroism, but it felt like here's Captain Marvel with some creatures and she's helping them. It didn't feel like it had any stakes or any connection to the Marvel universe. I'm not a big Kelly Thompson fan. Others are. Again, everybody has different tastes. There's something about the way Kelly Thompson writes. I just don't care for it. And I've also heard way too many behind the scenes stories that I can't get it out of my head now. But Kelly Thompson's Captain Marvel, I'll tell you, is much better than previous versions. She's got Captain Marvel actually doing things. I think they've gone to the Captain Marvel goes into an alternate reality and deals with alternate reality stuff too much, and it feels like we keep going between Captain Marvel goes into alternate reality. Captain Marvel is fighting this Vox Supreme character. I almost said Vox Day. Vox Supreme character. It's like trying to put black goo on her to make her a killing machine or something. And then they do another alternate reality storyline, and then something with Star, and then another storyline with Vox, and then it feels like there's like three storylines. But all that said, I think Kelly Thompson's doing a decent job with that character. I think she's doing a way better job with Black Widow. I think that's a legitimately pretty strong title that Thompson's doing. But I shouldn't. Why can't you make fun of a silly piece of art? Ribic is more talented than I will ever be. He's somebody who is a must buy for me. If he's on a book, I'm buying it. Full stop. That's I'm always keeping those in my collection. I've got a couple pieces. Actually, not a couple. One piece by Ribic that I purchased. I think he's amazing. He's continually amazing. He's great. That was a clunky image. I think you could make a funny joke about it. You can kind of joke about, wow, Hollywood's really done a number on it. And it can just be that simple. It doesn't need to be more than that. It doesn't need to be tagged to, ooh, you're insulting Captain Marvel. You must hate women. No, she just looks old in this picture. That's it. She just looks old. The drawing is clunky. Looks old. That's all. Still like the artist. Still think that person is good. The end. In fact, the artist, the drawing of Captain Marvel is great. If she was like 60 or 70, it would be great. You'd look at it and go, yeah, it's an old woman in Captain Marvel costume. Looks good. I think that how many things, this is my honest question, how many of the arguments, the complaints, the social media bullshit, all that kind of stuff can kind of be summed up or just let go of as simply, hey, this looks clunky, but you know what? Still glad there's comics. Still glad there's things to read. Still happy it exists. Isn't that like what normal people do? That's what I do in my real life. When I'm engaging with people, sometimes people make mistakes. Somebody accidentally burps at dinner. You don't go, oh my God, you gotta like everybody pretend that didn't happen because if you say a word, then that's hate speech. No, you just you make a joke about that. You move on. Somebody spills some food on their shirt. You make a joke. You move on. I was on an elevator once, like 5 of us. One of the people, not me, lets a little fart out on the elevator. There's a moment of silence, and then somebody laughs. It's like, well, now we're all trapped in here with this. And there was I'm sure for the person who did it, it was highly embarrassing, but that's it. And everybody went on about their lives. It wasn't a big deal. Mistakes can be made. Silly things can happen. You can comment on them, and it can be just that simple. It doesn't have to be more than that. And I think that comics, look, chill out. If the criticism is, and there are people who will say things like, get all the women out of video games. One of the people who complained about my art has that as a hashtag. They're like, how dare you make these CG talking jokes about Captain Marvel? And you go to the guy's profile, and in the profile is, make video games male again. Okay, so you're either a troll or you're complete. You are actually just a misogynist. Seriously. Who says something like that and means it? Hopefully nobody. But I think it's very easy to say, hey, this picture of Captain Marvel, she looks old and weird. Versus, I wish Marvel would eliminate all the female characters in all the comics and replace them all with white dudes, preferably smoking a cigar, drinking whiskey. Now, in fairness, very few people say things like that. And when you do see somebody who says something like that and means it, that's probably somebody you want to avoid because the person's a lunatic. But we should stop assuming that everybody who posts anything remotely negative is going all the way into, take away the women's right to vote. Like, come on. That's a terrible world we live in. Don't live it. Don't participate in that world. Don't try and create that world. And everybody just needs a little bit of understanding. And yes, we need to be able to make fun of clunky comic book art or storylines or storytelling or any of that kind of stuff. Hey, you know what's funny? Avengers 200, where Captain Marvel gave birth to an alien baby and then ran off with it as her new partner. Romantically. That was weird. That's a comic Marvel published. In 2022, you are allowed to either forget that comic ever existed, probably a good idea, or make fun of it. It's okay. Making fun of that comic does not make you a bad person. Period. Anyone who says otherwise is that person is disingenuous. That person is only trying to put power over you by being a lunatic. Don't let them get away with that. Anyway, I really want to live in a world because I have had great conversations with artists, with creators, where people have bagged on each other, where artists have joked about a clunky drawing they have done, and like, whoa, I messed that one up. And there's been lots of laughter. There's been beer. People have had a good time. Those are some of my favorite times in comics. I was in a show years ago, and a bunch of creators were playing a game of the best and worst piece they've ever done. And they almost always, in fact, this is a funny thing, you could talk to creators, oftentimes they have it saved on their phone or they can quickly pull it up. the art that they're most proud of and the art that just for whatever reason went sideways on them. And it's a fun conversation. It's okay to have those conversations. You can say something didn't work or you don't like it or what the hell is that? And it doesn't have to mean anything more than, hey, looks like something silly. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, just something to think about. Yeah, people who go all in on the, well, you said this, so that must mean you are this and this and this. Those people are dishonest. Cut them out quick. Thanks for listening.